Hello, everybody. How are you all doing today? So, today, let's talk about helping you heal and revisit a version of yourself from the past that maybe you've been resisting to look at, or you've been feeling a little bit embarrassed by it, or it was you made a mistake before and then really failed. And so now, because of this experience, right, because of what happened, it's holding you back. So let's talk about that. Often a lot of the fears and the doubts that we have around the next thing that we want to do. Maybe it is a new launch that you want to do, or getting into a new relationship, or it is moving, or it's applying for a competition or a specific job. A lot of fears or some sort of resistance that we have around this next thing that we want to do, a lot of times it's we have those resistance, we have those fears is because of something that we have been through. It's because of an experience in the past that we have been through, right? Maybe you've been hurt in the past in your past relationship by an arrogant guy. Or maybe it was a failed launch that you did. Maybe you gave yourself a goal and you didn't reach it. And so you were very embarrassed by it. You feel like you were a failure because of it. Or maybe because you applied for a competition or you applied for a specific school and you didn't get in and you didn't win. And that has left a mark in your experience. And so now thinking about trying it again, it just kind of gives you this like you don't know if you don't want to go through the same thing of what you went through, right? And this is what I call it's kind of like those subtle PTSD experience that you have that's kind of holding you back. So I want to share with you a story of my client. So we're going to call her Christy. So I feel like Christy's story and what she has been through can really relate. And you can probably relate to a lot of the things that she went through as well. Christy is an online influencer and a content creator. Right now, she is currently thinking about creating a new product line, selling hoodies to her community, to her people. And and everything is going great. Everything is going to plan. But then she just kept on feeling like this uneasiness, knowing that she had tried to do a launch before, she had tried to sell a product before and then it massively failed. So she came on to our session and she told me that for this last launch that she did, she had a goal of selling 200 products and they ended up selling 20. And also because it was a very public thing, like all the numbers were stated on their website to reach that goal and they didn't reach it. So that at the end, they couldn't bring it into production because they had a certain quota to meet. And so they didn't reach that. And that really left a mark in her experience with her experience of launching products. She felt kind of embarrassed about it. And she is even, as we're talking about it now, right now in the present moment, she still feels kind of like afraid of thinking about it or of opening up that page to look at it because it's so public. Like that old page is still there with the numbers. And it just gives her so much like anxiety and like this cringiness when she thinks about it. And so I asked her, okay, so if you can really go there and thinking about what happened and the goals that you didn't meet, like what are you making this launch mean? Right? Like if we just look at the specific numbers, the circumstance is the goal is 200 to sell 200 and the actual fact is you sold 20, right? If we just look at the numbers, what are you making this launch? What are you making this number mean? And she said, okay, like if I really go there to that very critical voice in my mind, what I'm thinking about is that, like, who are you to call yourself an influencer if you can't even sell your own product, if you can't even influence people to make them to want to buy your thing? Who are you to call yourself an influencer? And that you can't even influence people with what you do. And so what she's making those numbers mean is that is the thought I can't even influence people. And thinking that is making her feel embarrassed, right? She's feeling embarrassed about what happened. And so I asked her, okay, that's fine. Let's just kind of explore what happened and how you're thinking about it right now, right? So right now you're feeling embarrassed about it because you're making the launch, you're making those numbers mean that I can even influence people. So then you feel embarrassed. And let's explore this. When you feel embarrassed, how do you tend to show up? Like what are the behaviors that you tend to do when you feel embarrassed? And so she said, when she feels embarrassed, and what happens is she kind of hides. She like hides away from what happened. She doesn't want to think about it. She just wants to ignore it. She just wants to like put it to a side and move on. She avoids it. It's been a while since she launched her next product because of what happened, right? So she doesn't launch a new product again. And with this current new launch that she is planning, she's also moving very slowly. And she's kind of like, in a way, quote unquote, like procrastinating a little bit. And she's like thinking about this launch and thinking about her marketing and promoting with no confidence. So she's kind of doubting and like have no, the joy and the aliveness to the launching is not there and to her marketing is not there. So she's launching with no confidence. And something else I also offer to her is that so this is the thing, right? So our thoughts create our feelings create our actions. So in her actions, these are all the things that she's doing when she's feeling embarrassed, right? She's hiding. She is not launching another product. She's moving very slowly with her current one. She's launching with no confidence. And what I want to offer to her is that in your behavior, there's the things that you're doing because of you feeling embarrassed. There are also the things that you are not doing because of you feeling embarrassed. And when you feel embarrassed, what you do is you hide. When you feel embarrassed about what happened, what you also do is you're not evaluating the launch. You're not really thinking about what happened, thinking about that event in a critical way, like without taking it personally, of just looking at it as from a business perspective, like, oh, I'm the business owner. These are the numbers I got. Okay, let me evaluate and really look at what worked. Like, what are the things that I did that actually created 20 people buying it, right? And also, what are the things that didn't work that created these numbers? But then when you're feeling embarrassed, when it's something that you're taking so personally that really leaves a mark on you, then it's really, really hard for you to evaluate your work and evaluate what happened from a non-judgmental, objective way, right? Because you're taking it so personally. So when you feel embarrassed, what you're also not doing is you're not evaluating the launch and you're not evaluating and really understanding what happened. But then the thing that I also continue to offer her is that, but it makes sense, right? Like, of course, you will do all these things that you will hide, you won't launch another product, you will think about you're like move very slowly with your current one, you'll procrastinate, you will have all these doubts, you will criticize yourself in your head. You won't evaluate what happened. Of course, it makes sense because you're feeling embarrassed about it, right? You're feeling embarrassed. And here's the thing that I always like to offer for people is that a lot of the things that you think is what's creating your feeling is actually not. It's actually not the numbers itself that created Christy feeling embarrassed. It's because of how she's interpreting the situation. Christy makes the number mean that I can even influence people. And it's because of this belief that she has about herself and about what happened. I can't even influence people. This belief, this thought is creating her feeling embarrassed. Do you see? That's a very, very big difference that we want to distinguish here. To really see the difference between what is a fact, what is a circumstance, versus your feeling. Because the circumstance doesn't create a feeling. It's what you're thinking about and how you're interpreting the situation. And so what we did with Christy is we kind of helped her to really look at the situation from a different perspective. So I said to Christy, okay, what are like, let's look at the same numbers, right? If we look at the same circumstance, goal is 200, goal is to sell 200 products, and the reality is you sold 20. So that's the numbers there. Goal 200, sold 20. This is what you're making it mean. Now, let's say if it was your best friend, what would she make it mean? Like, how would she look at this number and what would she be thinking about? And Christy told me that her best friend might look at the number and she might just think, oh, that's cool. It's not a big deal. Keep going. Like, that's what her best friend would think. Just keep going. Like, I don't know too much about this, but the numbers seem okay. 20 is 20 people. That's great. Everyone is important, and you have 20 people who trust you and want to buy from you. Keep going. And I said, okay, cool, right? So that's what her best friend would say. Notice again, it's the same numbers, the circumstance hasn't changed, but just Christy thinks differently. Christy's best friend thinks differently about it versus what Christy thinks. And then I asked her this question. Okay, so then what would your past self say? What would past Chrissy say about the numbers? And this is when we really help Christy to really go there and to really think about that version of herself when she first started her business, when she didn't have that many following, where she just barely started. She was just still figuring out what she wanted to do with her life and figure out what to do with her business and what kind of work she's interested in. And this is when she told me that actually, Christy, she shared with me that actually at the time, she wasn't even doing her own thing. She was actually exploring drop shipping and she wasn't like a business owner with her own YouTube account, with her own channel and selling her own things. She was also exploring other areas that of how she could make money online. And at the time, she was looking into drop shipping and she sold like one product. Well, she was just figuring it out. She sold like one product. And so she told me that actually, Christy, the drop shipper, would have looked at the numbers and she would have been like, oh my gosh, 20 is great. Let me keep going. Let me try again. Yeah. Do you see? This is the thing, right? It's the same circumstance, but different people at different situations relates and interprets the same numbers differently. Christy, in the past, as a drop shipper, would have been like, oh my gosh, something is working. Let me figure out what. Let me try again. And also, this is not bad for the first time, right? This launch that she literally did that sold her 20 products was her first launch. Like it's her first time ever selling a product. And Chrissy told me that, wow, like I realized I had been kind of hard on myself. It was literally my first time trying. And I told her this. Past Christy worked so hard. Like she was so brave. She didn't know what she was doing. She did the best with what she knew how. It was her very first time. And she was so brave and so daring, putting herself out there this way. And to have the numbers be so public and have everyone look at it. Right? Like she worked so hard for the launch. She was so brave to do that. She deserves to be celebrated. Right? Like think about it. Old Christy, she worked so hard. She was so brave to put herself out there this way. She literally paved the way so you can be here right now. She paved the way so you can be at this level in your business, so you can be here at where you are right now. She deserves to be celebrated instead of you feeling embarrassed about her. She deserves to be celebrated and she deserves to be loved so much. right? And notice right now, you're thinking about her and thinking about what happened and feeling embarrassed about it. And this is what I really want to leave for you too, is that was there ever a past version of you that you feel embarrassed about or that you really resisted? Maybe this past version of you should made a big mistake. Maybe they did something that maybe they shouldn't have. Maybe they made the wrong move, trusted the wrong people. And so you really beat yourself up. You really beat this old version of them up. Like you really think there's something wrong with them. And you're judging them and you're feeling embarrassed and shame around them. And I want to offer for you is that they worked so hard. They didn't know what they needed. They did what they did the best with what they knew how. They really did. And can you really go there and celebrate this past version of you? Can you really love her exactly as who they are? Can you really celebrate them completely and really let them know that I'm so sorry I treated you this way. I'm so sorry I thought of you this way. But you deserve to be celebrated so much. Thank you for doing all the hard work. Thank you for working so hard, for trying so hard, for being so brave to do those things. And I can learn so much from you, right, my friend? The reason that you're feeling resisting moving forward and that you feel like there's this experience that's holding you back, it may be because you haven't truly loved them and celebrated what happened. Only when you go back to really love them, to celebrate them, to make them feel comforted, to let them know that they're going to be okay, this past version of you is going to be okay. Only when you can do this will you actually be able to integrate all the learnings and the experiences from the past. Because when you are being critical, when you're judging them, when you're embarrassed by them, it's very hard for you to integrate and imprint into your nervous system right now about what happened. And so then it would make sense that it will be very hard for you to move on. Right? Only when you can do this and comfort this part of them that is really wanting to be comforted by you, then can you actually move forward together. But right now, I know that there may be some of you who are trying to move forward without, while ignoring what happened. And that might not work for you because you will always feel fragmented. You will always feel like this version of you is holding you back. When in fact, this version of you just wants to be loved and seen and witnessed and celebrated by you. Okay? So love your past self today because they deserve, this past version of yourself deserves to be loved and celebrated so much. All right, have an amazing day. I'll talk to you next week. Bye.